Hello everybody, Rusted Ground here and welcome back to Mass Effect. I think it's time to go through the Codex again because we've gathered quite a few entries and before they pile up and take hours to go through, we should start going through them again. So this is going to be the second video in which we go through the Codex, and this is dedicated just to that. I'm just going to go through the primary and secondary entries in the Codex, the ones that are new entries. And yeah, feel free to minimize this video if you don't want to watch it, because it's just going to be the narrator talking about the entries in the primary section, and then I'm going to be reading through the secondary section. Or if you don't want to see or hear this video, feel free to move on to the actual gameplay video that is also up. Without further ado though, let's start and see if we have anything in the council races.
The Asari were the first species to discover the Citadel. When the Solarians arrived, it was the Asari who proposed the establishment of the Citadel Council to maintain peace throughout the galaxy. Since then, the Asari have served as the mediators and centrists of the Council. An all-female race, the Asari reproduce through a form of parthenogenesis. They can attune their nervous system to that of another individual of any gender and of any species to reproduce. This capability has led to the unseemly and inaccurate rumors about Asari promiscuity. Asari can live for over 1,000 years, passing through 3 stages of life. In the maiden stage, they wander restlessly, seeking new knowledge and experience. When the matron stage begins, they meld with interesting partners to produce their offspring. This ends when they reach the matriarch stage, where they assume the roles of leaders and counselors.
Okay, so this is very interesting. I actually wondered why we only see females of this particular race, and you've seen that the consort is an Asari and her acolytes. Also, Saren's right hand is an Asari, and she is actually in her 3rd stage. She's a matriarch now. So it's quite very interesting, and if I'm not mistaken, the Asari that is in the council, I think she might be a matron right now. I don't know. I don't even know how we can see the difference between the different stages that an Asari is. But wow, they live for 1,000 years. That's a lot. And the fact that they found a way to, or they have a way to reproduce, even though they're an all-female race, that's very good. Okay, let's move on to the Solarians.
The second species to join the Citadel, the Solarians are warm-blooded amphibians with a hyperactive metabolism. Solarians think fast, talk fast, and move fast. To Solarians, other species seem sluggish and dull-witted. Unfortunately, their metabolic speed leaves them with a relatively short lifespan. Solarians over the age of 40 are a rarity. The Solarians were responsible for advancing the development of the primitive Krogan species to use as soldiers during the Rachni Wars. They were also behind the creation of the genophage bioweapon the Turians used to quell the Krogan rebellions several centuries later. Solarians are known for their observational capability and non-linear thinking. This manifests as an aptitude for research and espionage. They are constantly experimenting and inventing, and it is generally accepted that they always know more than they are letting on.
Okay, now this is a very interesting fact that we didn't know before this. So they always know more than they're letting on. So maybe next time we meet a Solarian, we should be a little bit more suspicious, because the one that that comes to mind now is the guy that asked us to scan the keepers in the Citadel. Now, for me, he was a little bit dodgy about his request and whatnot, but he didn't really raise any red flags. I think because of their aspect and because they look a little bit frail. I didn't get any sort of bad vibe from that guy, but maybe we should be a little bit more careful in the future. Also, another thing which maybe I missed, I didn't see any female representatives of this race. I think I only saw male representatives. I wonder if I'm right. I have to keep an eye out for that as well. Okay, moving on to the aliens non-council races.
In the early 2160s, the Alliance began aggressive colonization of worlds in the Skyllian Verge, much to the dismay of the Batarians, who had been developing the region for several decades. In 2171, the Batarians petitioned the Council to declare the Verge a zone of Batarian interest. The Council refused, however, declaring unsettled worlds in the region open to human colonization. In protest, the Batarians closed their Citadel embassy and severed official diplomatic relations with the Council, effectively becoming a rogue state. They instigated a proxy war in the Verge by funneling money and weapons to criminal organizations, urging them to strike at human colonies. Hostilities peaked with the Skyllian Blitz of 2176, an attack on the human capital of Elysium by Batarian-funded pirates and slavers. In 2178, the Alliance retaliated with a crushing assault on the moon of Torfin, long used as a staging base by Batarian-backed criminals. In the aftermath, the Batarians retreated into their own systems and are now rarely seen in Citadel space.
I don't think we've met one of these guys. I wonder... I think I missed something, and I wonder how this got into the Codex now, because I don't remember meeting one of these guys. I mean, you would remember meeting a guy with 4 eyes and, 4 noses and 1 mouth, right? Okay, well, I'm sure we'll meet some in the future. We have quite a lot of races to go through here, so let's move on to Elkhorn.
The Elkhorn are a Citadel species native to the high-gravity world Decuna. They are massive creatures, standing on 4 muscular legs for increased stability. Elkhorn moves slowly, an evolved response to an environment where a fall can be lethal. This has colored their psychology, making them deliberate and conservative. Elkhorn's speech is ponderous and monotone. Among themselves, scent, slight movements, and sub-vocalized infrasound convey shades of meaning that make a human smile seem as subtle as a fireworks display. Since their subtlety can lead to misunderstandings with other species, the Elkhorn often go out of their way to clarify when they are being sarcastic, amused, or angry. Decuna's high gravity impedes mountain formation. Most of the world consists of flat, open plains, which prehistoric Elkhorn wandered across in small family bands. Modern Elkhorn still prefer open sky, and can become restless and uncomfortable on long starship journeys.
Okay, it's a pretty interesting race. When we have met, 2 of their representatives in the embassy. They do speak they have quite a monotone tone to their voice, so to say, but I like the fact that they tell you what emotion they want to give when they speak, because their tone is just constant. It's the same tone no matter if they're angry or happy or whatnot. Okay, let's move on to the Hanar.
The Hanar are a Citadel species known for excessive politeness. They speak with scrupulous precision and take offense at improper language. Hanar that expect to deal with other species take special courses to help them unlearn their tendency to take offense at improper speech. All Hanar have 2 names. The face name is known to the world. The soul name is kept for use among close friends and relations. Hanar never refer to themselves in the first person in conversation with someone they know on a face name basis. To do so is considered egotistical, so instead they refer to themselves as this one, or the impersonal it. Their homeworld, Kaje, has 90% ocean cover and orbits an energetic white star, resulting in a permanent blanket of cloud. Due to the presence of Prothean ruins on the world, many Hanar worship them, and Hanar myths often speak of an elder race that civilized them by teaching them language.
Wow, okay. I didn't really get any vibe with regards to their, what's it called? To their need to speak very proper and, use the correct language. But that's very cool. And it's very interesting about the face name and the soul name. We learned a little bit about that when we asked one of the Hanars why are they referring to themselves in third person. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see if we will manage to find out the soul name of a Hanar, because that would mean that you are as close as family. Cool. Awesome. Let's move on to the creepers, or the bugs of the Citadel, as I like to call them.
When the Asari discovered the Citadel, they also discovered the Keepers, a docile, multi-limbed insect race that seemingly exists only to maintain and repair the Great Prothean Station. Early attempts to communicate with or study the Keepers were failures, and it is now illegal to interfere with or impede Keeper activity. Because they are completely non-threatening, Keepers have become virtually invisible to everyone else. Similarly, they seem indifferent to other species, except for their tendency to help new arrivals integrate themselves into the Citadel. No matter how many Keepers die due to old age, violence, or accident, they maintain a constant number. No one has discovered the source of new Keepers, but some hypothesize they are genetic constructs. Biological androids created somewhere deep in the inaccessible core of the Citadel itself.
Damn. Now that sounds very strange. So, the Citadel has been up for how many years now, right? How many thousands of years, right? And like the current inhabitants don't know much about the Keepers. Now, with that, I wonder how our quest to scan the Keepers will actually influence this, because we did scan 21 Keepers, we did offer a lot of information, or gathered a lot of information about them, so I'm curious how this will evolve and what we will find out about the Keepers. But it's quite interesting. Let's move on to the Krogan race.
The Krogan evolved in a hostile and vicious environment. Until the invention of gunpowder weapons, eaten by predators was still the #1 cause of Krogan fatalities. Afterwards, it was death by gunshot. When the Silurians discovered them, the Krogan were a brutal, primitive species, struggling to survive a self-inflicted nuclear winter. The Silurians culturally uplifted them, teaching them to use and build modern technology, so they could serve as soldiers in the Rachni War. Liberated from the harsh conditions of their homeworld, the quick-breeding Krogan experienced an unprecedented population explosion. They began to colonize nearby worlds. Even though these worlds were already inhabited, the Krogan rebellions lasted nearly a century, only ending when the Turians unleashed the Genophage, a Silurian-developed bioweapon that crushed all Krogan resistance. The Genophage makes only 1 in 1,000 pregnancies viable, and today the Krogan are a slowly dying breed. Understandably, the Krogan harbor a grudge against all other species, especially the Turians.
Wow. Yeah, I've said it before, I find the Krogan story quite sad, and I'm going to say something now that maybe some of you won't agree with, but it's my own opinion. When I first saw Rex, and when I first met Rex and I saw other Krogans, and then when I heard his story, it reminded me of the orcs in World of Warcraft a little bit, because they are a warrior race that are seemingly very powerful, and like the description says here, they went on to colonize other worlds. but they had to be stopped somehow, and the only way to stop them is by using this virus or biological weapon, to hurt them, and also to reduce the possibility for them to breed. Again, I find it very sad. It's a sad story, and I'm very curious to find out some more about this race. For me, when I first heard the story, because I didn't know what to expect or anything, because Rex is a pretty hard ass, it was just like, what? I wasn't expecting that, so yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Quarians.
Driven from their home system by the Geth nearly 3 centuries ago, most Quarians now live aboard the Migrant Fleet, a flotilla of 50,000 vessels ranging in size from passenger shuttles to mobile space stations. Home to 17 million Quarians, the flotilla understandably has scarce resources. Because of this, each Quarian must go on a rite of passage known as the pilgrimage when they come of age. They leave the fleet and only return once they have found something of value they can bring back to their people. Other species tend to look down on the Quarians for creating the Geth and for the negative impact their fleet has when it enters a system. This has led to many myths and rumors about the Quarians, including the belief that underneath their clothes and breathing masks, they are actually cybernetic creatures, a combination of organic and synthetic parts.
I actually had the same thought when I saw Tali. I thought she was half android, and I still think that she is half for now. I'm curious to see if we'll ever. I'm curious to know if we'll ever see her face, her actual face, or if we'll ever see an actual Quarian face. You know, what's behind the mask, or behind the hood, so to say. But we did get a lot of this information from Tali, and again, it's another interesting race. The fact that they are basically a moving fleet. It's very cool. Okay, let's move on to the Volus.
The Volus are a member species of the Citadel with their own embassy, but they are also a client race of the Turians. Centuries ago, they were voluntarily absorbed into the hierarchy, effectively trading their mercantile prowess for Turian military protection. Erun, their homeworld, lies far beyond the normal life zone of its star. However, the world has a high-pressure greenhouse atmosphere that traps enough heat to support an ammonia-based biochemistry. As a result, the Volus must wear pressure suits and breathers when dealing with other species, as conventional nitrogen-oxygen air mixtures are poisonous to them, and in the low-pressure atmospheres tolerable to most species, their flesh will actually split open. Volus culture is tribal, bartering lands and even people to gain status. This culture of exchange inclines them to economic pursuits. It was the Volus who authored the Unified Banking Act, and they continue to monitor and balance the Citadel economy.
Well, they do look like smart little guys, and I actually like them, although they're a little bit suspicious. But the fact that they are very smart when it comes to money and economy and stuff like that, well, you know, it's good, and I can understand why they are still a member species of the Citadel, and they still have their own embassy and whatnot. And I can also understand why they don't have a member in the council. But yeah, that's another story. Okay, I think this is it for the alien council races. Non-council races, right? I think so.
In the early 2160s.
Whoops, sorry. Didn't want to do that. Never mind. Let's move on to planets and
Pharos
locations.
is a habitable world in the Attican Beta cluster. 2/3 of the habitable surface is covered with the ruins of a crumbling Prothean megatropolis. In the millennia since the Prothean extinction, the ruins have been repeatedly picked over by looters many times. Pharos was considered a poor prospect for colonization, as little open ground remains for agriculture. The only sizable freshwater sources are the poles, which are tapped by the decaying Prothean aqueduct systems. The dead cities, while in good condition considering their antiquity, are of uncertain stability. Ground level is congested by a dozen meters of fallen debris, and the air is fouled by dust. In 2178, the Human Exogeny Corporation announced its intention to place a permanent colony on Pharos to thoroughly explore the ruins. The pioneer settlement was placed on the upper levels of several intact skyscrapers, using the surviving Prothean aqueducts and rooftop hydroponic gardens to support the population.
Right, so Pharos, Noveria, and the Uncharted Worlds. Now these, Pharos and Noveria, are the two planets that we can investigate at the moment. So it's interesting to find out some more about them, but I'm sure that once we get there, we'll learn way more. Okay, let's move on to Noveria here.
Noveria is a cool, rocky world with most of its hydrosphere locked up in massive glaciers. A privately chartered colony world, the planet is owned by the Noveria Development Corporation Holding Company. The NDC is funded by investment capital from 24 high-technology development firms and administrated by an executive board representing their interests. The investors built remote hot labs in isolated locations across Noveria's surface. These facilities are used for research too dangerous or controversial to be performed elsewhere, as Noveria is technically not part of Citadel space and therefore exempt from Council law. By special arrangement, Citadel's special tactics and reconnaissance agents have been granted extraterritorial privileges, but it remains to be seen how committed the executive board is to that principle. Given its unique situation, it is understandable that Noveria is often implicated in all manner of wild conspiracy theories.
Okay, so I take it it's a bad place to go to, and it's going to be problematic. Well, we'll have to see. Moving on to the Uncharted Worlds.
There are between 200 and 400 billion stars in the galaxy, and less than 1% of them have ever been visited or had their systems properly surveyed. Humanity's early expansion into the Attican Traverse was haphazard, a desperate race to claim habitable planets where populations can be economically settled. Ignored in the wake of this land grab were thousands of less hospitable worlds, each potentially rich with industrial resources. The wealth of entire solar systems lies untapped, waiting for corporate survey teams or independent pioneers to discover and exploit them. However, this is not an easy task. In addition to the environmental hazards, the fact that uncharted worlds are largely ignored makes them popular bases for criminals, revolutionaries, cults, and others who wish to remain unnoticed by galactic society.
And it's up to us to discover them and to look into what's going on there. Yeah, it sounds like a very good prospect, and I like it. Going, into the Uncharted. Okay, let's move on to ships and vehicles.
Faster-than-light drives use element zero cores to reduce the mass of the ship, allowing higher rates of acceleration. This effectively raises the speed of light within the mass effect field, allowing high-speed travel with negligible relativistic time dilation effects. Starships still require conventional thrusters, chemical rockets, commercial fusion torch, economy ion engine, or military anti-proton drive, in addition to the FTL drive core. With only a core, a ship has no motive power. The amount of ESO and power required for a drive increases exponentially to the mass being moved and the degree it is being lightened. Very massive ships, or very high speeds, are prohibitively expensive. If the field collapses while the ship is moving at faster than light speed, the effects are catastrophic. The ship is snapped back to sublight velocity, the enormous excess energy shed in the form of lethal Cherenkov radiation.
Okay, well, let's hope we won't experience that. Moving on to military ship classifications.
Larger warships are generally classified in one of 4 weights. Frigates are small, fast ships used for scouting and screening of larger vessels. Frigates often operate in wolf-pack flotillas. Cruisers are middleweight combatants, faster than dreadnoughts and more heavily armed than frigates. Cruisers are the standard patrol unit and often lead frigate flotillas. Dreadnoughts are kilometer-long capital ships mounting heavy, long-range firepower. They are only deployed for the most vital missions. Carriers are dreadnought-sized vessels that also carry large numbers of fighters. Smaller vessels are almost exclusively used in a support role to the warships during combat. Fighters are one-man craft used to perform close-range attacks on enemy ships. Interceptors are one-man craft optimized for destroying opposing fighters.
And the Normandy now.
The Normandy is a prototype starship developed by the Human Systems Alliance with the assistance of the Citadel Council. It is optimized for scouting and reconnaissance missions in unstable regions using state-of-the-art stealth technology. For most ships, the heat generated through standard operations is easily detectable against the absolute zero background of space. The Normandy, however, is able to temporarily sink this heat within the hull. Combined with refrigeration of the exterior hull, the ship can travel undetected for hours or drift passively for days of covert observation. This is not without risk. The stored heat must eventually be radiated, or it will build to levels capable of cooking the crew alive. Another component of the stealth system is the Normandy's revolutionary Tantalus drive, a Mass Effect core twice the standard size. The Tantalus drive generates mass concentrations that the Normandy falls into, allowing it to move without the use of heat-emitting thrusters.
Yep, this is already information that we have already found out in the game. But it's great that the Codex also has this information, and we can refer back to it whenever we want to. Now we have technology.
Biotics is the ability of rare individuals to manipulate dark energy.
We went through this. Let's go to computers, artificial intelligence.
An artificial intelligence is a self-aware computing system capable of learning and independent decision-making. Creation of a conscious AI requires adaptive code, a slow, expensive education, and a specialized quantum computer called a blue box. An AI cannot be transmitted across a communication channel or computer network. Without its blue box, an AI is no more than data files. Loading these files into a new blue box will create a new personality, as variations in the quantum hardware and runtime results create unpredictable variations. The Geths serve as a cautionary tale against the dangers of rogue AI, and in Citadel space they are technically illegal. Advocacy groups argue, however, that an AI is a living, conscious entity, deserving the same rights as organics. They argue that continued use of the term artificial is institutionalized racism on the part of organic life. The term synthetic is considered the politically correct alternative.
Wow, okay. Now that's a problem. What can I say? Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. Okay, moving on to virtual intelligence.
A virtual intelligence is an advanced form of user interface software. VIs use a variety of methods to simulate natural conversation, including an audio interface and an avatar personality to interact with. Although a VI can provide a convincing emulation of sentience, they are not self-aware, nor can they learn or take independent action. VIs are used as operating systems on commercial and home computers. Minimal VI agents are also available. Agents are compact and specialized. Some serve as personal secretaries, filtering calls and scheduling meetings based on user-defined priorities. Others are advanced search engines, propagating themselves across the extranet to collate user-requested data. Commercial VIs in a variety of stock personalities are available at any software retailer. Boutique firms and hobbyists also build unique VIs to personal specification. Although software emulation of living personalities is illegal, reconstructions of famous historical figures are common.
Alright, and Mass Effect fields now.
Element 0 can increase or decrease the mass of a volume of space-time when subjected to an electrical current. With a positive current, mass is increased. With a negative current, mass is decreased. The stronger the current, the greater the magnitude of the dark energy mass effect. In space, low mass fields allow FTL travel and inexpensive surface-to-orbit transit. High mass fields create artificial gravity and push space debris away from vessels. In manufacturing, low mass fields permit the creation of evenly blended alloys, while high mass compaction creates dense, sturdy construction materials. The military makes extensive use of mobility-enhancing technologies, with mass effect utilizing fighting vehicles standard frontline issue in most military forces. Mass effect fields are also essential in the creation of kinetic barriers or shields to protect against enemy fire.
Alright, these were all the entries that we have so far in the primary section of the Codex. Oh, no, sorry, my mistake. We also have weapons, armor, and equipment.
Combat hard suits use a dual-layer
we've been through
system
that. Let's
to
go
protect
to
the
mass
wearer.
accelerators.
A mass accelerator propels a solid metal slug using precisely controlled electromagnetic attraction and repulsion. The slug is designed to squash or shatter on impact, increasing the energy it transfers to the target. If this were not the case, it would simply punch a hole right through, doing minimal damage. Accelerator design was revolutionized by Element Zero. A slug lightened by a mass effect field can be accelerated to greater speeds, permitting projectile velocities that were previously unattainable. If accelerated to a high enough velocity, a simple paint chip can impact with the same destructive force as a nuclear weapon. However, mass accelerators produce recoil equal to their impact energy. This is mitigated somewhat by the mass effect fields that rounds are suspended within. But weapon recoil is still the prime limiting factor on slug velocity.
Whoa, okay, now Jesus, that's a very interesting theory here. So, basically you can transform anything into, not just a bullet, into like a nuclear weapon. That's a bit of an, I don't know, exaggeration maybe, but yeah, if they say so, it must be so. Okay, moving on to Mehta Gel.
Mehta Gel is a common medicinal salve used by paramedics, EMTs, and military personnel. It combines several useful applications: a local anesthetic, disinfectant, and clotting agent all in one. Once applied, the gel is designed to grip tight to flesh until subjected to a frequency of ultrasound. It is sealable against liquids, most notably blood, as well as contaminants and gases. The gel is a genetically engineered bioplasm created by the CERTA Foundation, a medical technology megacorp based on Earth. Technically, Mehta Gel violates Council laws against genetic engineering, but to date, it has proved far too useful to ban.
Yeah, okay, and the small arms.
All modern infantry weapons, from pistols to assault rifles, use micro-scaled mass accelerator technology. Projectiles consist of tiny metal slugs suspended within a mass-reducing field, accelerated by magnetic force to speeds that inflict kinetic damage. The ammo magazine is a simple block of metal. The gun's internal computer calculates the mass needed to reach the target based on distance, gravity, and atmospheric pressure, then shears off an appropriate-sized slug from the block. A single block can supply thousands of rounds, making ammo a non-issue during any engagement. Top-line weapons also feature smart targeting that allows them to correct for weather and environment. Firing on a target in a howling gale feels the same as it does on a calm day at the practice range. Smart targeting does not mean a bullet will automatically find the mark every time the trigger is pulled. It only makes it easier for the marksman to aim.
Cool, good to know. Okie dokie now. So these were all the entries in the primary section of the Codex. Moving on to the secondary, we have quite a few here. So, aliens, non-council races. Wow. Okay, Krogan genophage. The genophage bioweapon was created to end the Krogan rebellions. From the start, the Krogan had overwhelmed the Council. Only timely first contact with the Turians saved the Council races. The Turians fought the Krogan to a standstill, but sheer weight of Krogan numbers indicated the war could not be won through conventional means. The Turians collaborated with the Solarians to genetically engineer a counter to the rapid breeding of the Krogan. The genophage virus gained the energy to replicate by eating key genetic sequences. Every cell in every Krogan had to be altered for the weapon to be foolproofed. Otherwise, the Krogan could have used gene therapy to fix the affected tissues. Once a genophage strain could find no more genes to eat, it would starve and die, limiting spin-off mutation and contamination. This created genetic flaw in hereditary. This created genetic flaw is hereditary. Sorry, my mistake. The Solarians believed the genophage would be used as a deterrent, a position the Turians viewed as naive. Once the project was complete, the Turians mass-produced and deployed it. The Krogan homeworld, their colonies, and all occupied worlds were infected. The resulting mutation made only 1 in 1,000 Krogan pregnancies carry to term. It did not reduce fertility, but offspring viability. The rare females able to carry children to term became prizes the Krogan warlords fought brutal battles over. The Krogan are a shadow of their former glory. While the rebellions took place centuries ago, they are constantly reminded of the horror of the genophage and of their inability to counter it. The release of the genophage is still controversial, bitterly debated in many circles. Yeah, I'm gonna say this again. A very, very sad story. Okay, Krogan rebellions. After the Rachni War, the quick-breeding Krogan expanded at the expense of their neighbors. Warlords leveraged their veteran soldiers to seize living space, while the council races were still grateful. Over centuries, the Krogan conquered world after world. There was always just one more needed. When the council finally demanded withdrawal from the Asari colony of Lucia, Krogan overlord Kredak stormed off the Citadel, daring the council to take their worlds back. But the council had taken precautions. The finest STG operators and Asari huntresses had been drafted into a covert observation force, the Office of Spatial Tactics and Reconnaissance. The Spectres opened the war with crippling strategic strikes. Krogan planets went dark as computer viruses flooded the extranet. Sabotaged antimatter refineries disappeared in blue-white annihilation. Headquarters stations shattered into orbit-clocking debris, rammed by pre-placed suicide freighters. Still, this only delayed the inevitable. The war would have been lost if not for first contact with the Turians, who responded to Krogan threats with a prompt declaration of war. Being on the far side of Krogan space from the Council, the Turians advanced rapidly into the lightly defended Krogan rear areas. The Krogan responded by dropping space stations and asteroids on Turian colonies. 3 worlds were rendered completely uninhabitable. This was precisely the wrong approach to take with the Turians. Each is first and foremost a public servant willing to risk his life to protect his comrades. Rather than increasing public war wariness, Krogan tactics stiffened Turian resolve. The arrival of Turian task forces saved many worlds from the warlords' marauding fleets, but it took development of the genophage bioweapon to end the war. There were decades of unrest afterwards. Rogue warlords and holdout groups of insurgents refused to surrender or disappeared into the frontier systems to become pirates. Okay, Quarian's economy. The migrant fleet has little economic base, operating in a state of perpetual hand-to-mouth. While Quarian ships include light manufacturing and assembly plants, they lack heavy industries such as refining and shipbuilding. The fleet has tankers for water purification and oxygen cracking, but the space-intensive nature of agriculture limits food production. A single disaster could destroy the fragile balance. The Quarians earn income in creative ways. Because the government is obliged to provide food, water, air, and medical support for every individual, the Conclave strategically determines the course of the fleet to bring in resources and income. A species who suspects the migrant fleet is heading towards their space race often offers a gift of surplus starships, fuel, and resources to convince the Conclave to alter course. As the fleet passes through a system, swarms of mining vessels work over asteroids for metals and siliceous materials, and cometary bodies for water, ice, and organics. Quarian miners are adept at locating and strip mining spaceborne resources. This sparks conflict with corporations already working the system. Large mining concerns spend millions on lobbyists and public relations, portraying the Quarians as locusts devouring the resources of a system before moving on. The greatest asset of the Quarians is their rarefied skills. Most are experienced miners. Due to their life of perpetual salvage and repair, they are skilled engineers and technicians. More than once, the very corporations that lobby against the Quarians have made backroom deals with the fleet, arranging for skilled Quarians to fill space engineering jobs that other species would demand higher wages for. Quarians are widely hated among the working classes. The Quarians are coming to take our jobs is the common response to the fleet's approach. Wow, okay. This is a very interesting race, I have to say. Okay, the government. Due to the Quarians' precarious existence and the need to enforce strict rationing, government is somewhat autocratic. The migrant fleet's operations are directed by the Admiralty, a board of 5 military officers who are advised by a legislative body called the Conclave. Each vessel in the fleet has the right to send representatives to the Conclave aboard the flagship. The number of representatives is based on the crew size. Larger clans with bigger ships and more votes form the cores of political blocs. Opposition comes from the Outriders coalition, with delegates from thousands of smaller ships. The Admiralty defers to the Conclave's decisions in most circumstances. However, if all 5 members agree that a Conclave decision jeopardizes the survival of the fleet and cannot get the Conclave to address their concerns, they have the right to summarily overturn the legislative decision. After the Admiralty uses this extraordinary power, they must resign. If the Admiralty does not step down after using their veto, the rest of the military is obliged to arrest them. What? Okay, each ship captain has authority over his vessel, but is advised by an elected civilian council, just as the Admiralty is advised by the Conclave. This relationship may range from cooperation to polite tolerance to outright hostility, but any captain who overrules his council without good reason is relieved of command by the Admiralty. Many Quarian ships are owned by clans who pool their resources to purchase used vessels from private sellers. Large ships are prestigious for big, rich clans, but a small ship means status for a small clan with enough personal wealth to afford a private vessel. Clan vessel captains are not subject to dismissal by the Admiralty. Abusive captains are a family problem if they do not disrupt the operations of the fleet. Okay, migrant fleet. The migrant fleet is the largest concentration of starfaring vessels in the galaxy, sprawling across millions of kilometers. It can take days for the entire fleet to pass through a mass relay. Wow. When the Quarians fled their homeworld, the fleet was a motley aggregation of freighters, shuttles, industrial vessels, and the old warship. After 3 centuries, all have been modified to support larger crews as comfortably as possible. As the Quarians achieved stability, they began weeding out the ships least suitable for long-term habitation, selling them and pooling the money to buy larger and more space-worthy hulls. This process is ongoing as vessels wear out and break down. While some ships enjoy dedicated cabins with full privacy and sanitary facilities, many more are former freighters, whose cargo bays and containers are pressurized and divided into family spaces using simple metal cubicle bulkheads. The Quarians living in these austere spaces are with colorful quilts and tapestries, which also help muffle sound. The day-to-day operations of the fleet, traffic control station, keeping, supply distribution, and so on are under military jurisdiction. Though ship captains have the authority to deviate from their assigned positions, they may leave the fleet at any time. They are assumed to do so at their own risk. As the migrant fleet moves around the galaxy, many ships split off to pursue individual goals, returning days or years later. Holy crap. Okay, and pilgrimage. When Quarians of the migrant fleet reach young adulthood, they must leave their birth ship and find a new crew to accept them as permanent residents. To prove themselves, they must recover something of value. This is offered to their prospective captain as proof that they will not be a mere burden to the shoestring resources of the ship. This process is called the pilgrimage. Stripped of ritual, the pilgrimage is merely an attempt to maintain genetic diversity within the small, relatively isolated population bases that make up the migrant fleet. If the young stayed and married within their birth vessel, the risk of inbreeding would increase sharply. Quarians are surgically fitted with their various immunity-boosting implants in preparation for leaving on pilgrimage. Having grown up within the sterile, controlled environments of the migrant fleet ships, Quarians have virtually no natural immune system. Okay, that is very interesting. Okay, Citadel and Galactic Government. Holy moly. I think I'm going to do 2 videos on this one, guys, because, it's going to take a while. Citadel Conventions. These diplomatic talks occurred in the wake of the Krogan rebellions as a response to the destruction of the conflict and an attempt to distance the Council from the brutal Krogan warfare. The conventions regulate the use of weapons of mass destruction. A WMD causes environmental alteration to a world. A bomb that produces a large crater is not considered a WMD. A bomb that causes a nuclear winter is. Use of WMD is forbidden on garden worlds like Earth with ecospheres that can readily support the population. If a habitable world is destroyed, it will not be replaced for millions of years. The conventions do not forbid the use of WMD on hostile worlds or in sealed space station environments. Many militaries continue to develop and maintain stockpiles. The conventions graded weapons of mass destruction into tiers of concern. Tier 1 is the greatest threat to galactic peace. Okay, Tier 1. Large kinetic impactors such as asteroid drops or deorbiting space stations. Effectively free and available in any system in the form of debris left over from planetary accretion. Kinetic impactors are the weapon of choice for terrorists and Third Galaxy nations. Third Galaxy. Tier 2. Uncontrolled self-replicating weapons such as nanotechnology, viral or bacteriological organisms, von Neumann devices, and destructive computer viruses. These weapons can lie dormant for millennia, waiting for a careless visitor to carry them on to another world. Tier 3. Large energy burst weapons such as nuclear or antimatter warheads. And Tier 4, alien species deliberately introduced to crowd out native forms necessary for the health of an ecosystem. Ecological tempering can take years to bear fruit, making it difficult to prove. Okay. Citadel Station, Citadel Security Services. The CSEC is a volunteer police service answering to the Citadel Council. The 200,000 constables of CSEC are responsible for maintaining public order in the densely populated Citadel. They also provide pirate suppression, customs enforcement, and search and rescue throughout the Citadel cluster. CSEC has 6 divisions. Enforcement, uniformed officers who patrol the Citadel and respond to emergencies. Investigation, detectives who puzzle out the truth behind crimes and bring perpetrators to justice. Customs screens the thousands of passengers and cargo containers that pass through the Citadel's ports every day. Network deals with cyber crimes like identity and copyright theft, hacking and viral attacks, and illegal artificial intelligence. Special Response deals with hostage situations, bombs, and heavily armed criminals. In the unlikely event that attackers board the Citadel, they are also the front line of defense, armed with military-grade equipment. Patrol, naval arm with ships stationed throughout the Citadel cluster. Unlike the other divisions, they are rarely seen at the Citadel, nor do they stay in one place long. Joining CSEC is prestigious. Applications must be sponsored by a Citadel counselor and the ambassador of an associate council race. Generally, applicants have many years of distinguished service in the military or police forces of their nation, but an inexperienced applicant with demonstrable talent will be fairly considered. CSEC and the Spectres are often at odds. Many CSEC members, notably current executor Venari Palin, believe that allowing Spectres to be above the law is a dangerous practice. The actions of Saren Arterius lend credence to this position. The Spectres in turn are aggravated when CSEC's dedication to procedure and due process hampers their investigations. Of course. Citadel Station, Presidium Ring. The ring is an enclosed loop of park-like space serving as the connection point for the wards. The interior walls are lined with the embassies of influential species and private residences for the galaxy's elite. The Presidium is full of open-air restaurants, bars, and luxurious meeting areas. Gravity is about 1/3 Earth normal. A holographic sky is projected over the ceiling of the ring. Unlike the 24/7 bustle of the wards, the Presidium maintains a 20-hour day schedule with a 6-hour night where lights are dimmed and the sky goes through a night cycle. Offices and residences are often open to the interior. It is not unusual for embassies to have no exterior wall at all. This does not cause a crime problem due to the heavy CSEC presence and ubiquitous monitoring devices on the Presidium. Thieves are quickly identified and apprehended. The ring is the location of the Citadel's spaceports. Being closer to the center of the spin, there is less motion for a ship to match, and the reduced spin gravity makes handling cargo easier. Hundreds of ships pass through the Citadel every day, and every species with an embassy is granted a private dock. The tower at the center of the ring holds the administration of the Citadel Council. The tower raises over a kilometer from the ring, appearing to thrust forward parallel to the ward arms. As the tower is the center of the spinning axis, it experiences little centrifugal force. Gravity is maintained using mass effect fields at a 90-degree angle to the ring and wards. Wow, okay. That's very interesting. A consular dock can be found at the base of the tower. While normally used for diplomatic couriers and Spectre business, the shuttles docked here can evacuate the council government in an emergency. Of course, okay. Moving on to the Citadel Station Serpent Nebula. The Citadel is surrounded by a blue-tinted reflection nebula. The light of the nebula is actually light from the Citadel scattered and reflected back at the station. At first, the Serpent Nebula was assumed to be made of microscopic construction debris. Prevailing theory holds that the Protheans used molecular nanotechnology to manufacture the incredibly durable materials used in the Citadel. But unlike other nebulae, the Serpent does not dissipate over time, therefore it must be replenished constantly. The current popular theory is that the non-recyclable waste collected by the Citadel's keepers is somehow rendered down to the atomic or molecular level and ejected into the cloud. The thick nebula presents a navigation hazard. Beyond the relatively clear areas around the Citadel, electrical discharges are common. These are not blocked by kinetic barriers and can severely damage metal-framed starships. In addition, some dense knots of dust can overwhelm the repulsion of kinetic barriers on smaller ships. If such a vessel is moving fast enough at the time, the effects are similar to being hit by a sandblaster. Okay. Attempting to reach the Citadel through open space navigation is unadvisable. The only safe approach is through the various mass relays that orbit it. Okay, that's interesting, and it's also like a defense mechanism of some sort, right? Technically. Okay, moving on to Citadel Station, the wards. The majority of the Citadel's population lives in the wards, the 5 massive arms of the station that house the residential and commercial districts. Many galactic races have established cultural enclaves here. Population density and cost of living are extremely high, akin to Earth cities such as Hong Kong and Singapore. The wards are open-topped, with skyscrapers raising from the superstructure. Towers are sealed against vacuum as the breathable atmosphere envelope is only maintained to a height of about 7 meters. The atmosphere is contained by the centrifugal force of rotation and the membrane of dense, colorless sulfur hexafluoride gas held in place by carefully managed mass effect fields. The view from the wards is spectacular. In the background, stars, Serpent Nebula, and the nearby blue giant called the Widow, move across the sky as the station rotates and to stabilize itself. In the foreground, the light of buildings and vehicles on the opposing ward arms perpetually shine. The Citadel has no real day or night. While the station keeps to standard galactic time for political functions, businesses rarely close, and residents acclimate to sleep and work according to personal need rather than a day-night cycle. Okay, and probably there are species that don't even sleep or something. Additions and modifications are constantly being constructed, though they must stay within a certain specification that will not compromise the operation of the station. Occasionally, the keepers will descend on an area of the wards and move or change the architecture without explanation. Residents have learned to live with these inexplicable intrusions. Okay, that's it's quite interesting. Imagine if you have like your house there, right? And then these guys come and just change it. Okay, Treaty of Pharos. Due to the destructive potential of dreadnoughts, the Council races agreed at a Pharosan naval conference to fix a ratio of dreadnought construction between themselves. At the top of the pyramid is the peacekeeping Turian fleet. Below the Turians are the other Council races, currently the Asari and Solarians. Council associate races are at the bottom. The Human Systems Alliance is part of this last group. The ratio of Turian to Council to associate dreadnoughts is 5-3-1. For every dreadnought humans are permitted to build, the Asari have 3 and the Turians have 5. Wow, okay, that is quite impressive and important. So once you become a member of the Council, you are set. That's very cool. Okay, moving on to Humanity and the Systems Alliance. Systems Alliance military jargon. Ashore, Ashore. When a ship's... What the hell is wrong with me? Ashore. Systems Alliance military jargon. Ashore, when a ship's crew leaves the vessel, they are ashore. Though normally used regarding planets, it can refer to boarding a space station. Okay. Away? Away. When a ship releases the equipment tethering it to the space station or surface dock, it is away. Okay. Aye. The proper way to acknowledge an order. If told to attack, the correct response is aye, sir. If asked, are you proud to be a Marine? The correct response is yes, sir. Okay. ASAP, pronounced ASAP, is an acronym for as soon as possible. Belay, what the hell means stop or cease. Bridge means the navigation center of the spacecraft where the steering is done. Okay. Captain's mast, non-judicial, disciplinary proceedings by unit commanders. CIC means Combat Information Center, the command center of a spacecraft. The CIC is filled with sensor displays to make sense out of the chaos of combat. Okay. DC means damage control, the containment and repair of damage to a spacecraft. EMC, electronic countermeasures, were used to avoid enemy sensors from passive emissions masking to active jamming. EVA means extravehicular activity, time spent in a pressure suit outside of the vehicle, spacecraft, or station. Flank. The flank is the side of a military formation. Since the soldiers are facing elsewhere, an enemy that can attack on the flank can often turn it or roll it up. Okay. FNG. Freaking new guys. Okay. A derisive term for inexperienced personnel. FNG. Okay. Groundside, the surface of a planet. Helmsman, the crew member who pilots a spacecraft. Okay. LADAR is the light amplified detection and ranging. An active sensor that bounces laser off an object to determine its bearings and distance. LADAR has sufficient resolution that the data can be reconstructed into an image. A shore party, spacecraft crew sent ashore on official business. Silent running, an old submariner's term used aboard the Normandy to denote when stealth systems are active. Okay. SITREP, abbreviation for situational report, an evaluation of the current military situation. Spacer, someone who has spent most of their lives in space. Okay. XO means executive officer, the second in command of an alliance warship. The XO is responsible for administrative and personnel matters. Okay, I'm not going to remember any of these right now, but I'm sure we'll come across them during our missions. Systems Alliance N7. The Alliance Military Vocational Code system classifies the career path of all serving personnel. The MVC consists of one letter and one number. A soldier's MVC indicates proficiency, not rank. The letter notes career path. The number indicates level of experience as indicated by service record, technical scores, and commendations. All 26 letters are used and numbers run from 1 to 7. N is the letter code for Special Forces personnel. Awesome. I really didn't know that, and it's cool. Awesome. Okay, moving on to planets and locations. Arcturus Station. Arcturus Station is the gateway to Sol, a 5-kilometer diameter Stanford-Torus-type space station at the trailing Lagrange point of the gas giant Themis. Construction on Arcturus Station began in 2151 and concluded in 2162. After 11 years. It was inaugurated in 2156 and has served as the military and political headquarters of the Systems Alliance from the First Contact War until present. When humanity activated the Charon mass relay in 2149, it led to Arcturus 36 light years from Sol, Earth's sun. Arcturus is the third brightest star seen from Earth. It is an ancient red giant from the generation born before Sol. Its worlds are either gas giants or ice chunks. While some rocky debris exists, the metal content is 25% lower than normal. To build Arcturus Station, metallic asteroids were towed through the mass relays to the construction site. Many of these asteroids remain near the station, their mined out areas home to transient population. Okay, they're mined out areas home to minded. What the hell is wrong with me? The expense of bringing construction materials into the system was acceptable due to its strategic value. With 3 primary mass relays in addition to the secondary one to Sol, Arcturus is a major communications and military choke point. The Alliance First Fleet is based in Arcturus, where it can guard the gates to Sol and react to incursions in the 3 connected clusters. The station also hosts the Systems Alliance Parliament and the Systems Alliance Military General Headquarters. Its permanent population is approximately 45,000. Arcturus is actually from the galactic halo, one of a cluster of 52 stars that are crashing through the disk of the galaxy. In 1 billion years, Arcturus will be sailing through the depths of extragalactic dark space. Okay. Well, we'll have to see how it looks. I hope we will get to see how it looks. Okay, ships and vehicles now. Starships, crew, considerations. Cabins give each individual 10 cubic meters of space. On larger vessels, private rooms are common. As ships get smaller, the number of crew packed into a single wardroom increases. Asari prefer shared spaces even on large vessels, while Krogan territorial instincts make it impossible for them to cohabitate even on the smallest ships. On smaller vessels, hot bunking is the norm. Crew members assigned to different watches share the same bunk. When one gets off duty, he wakes up the first person in the bunk. While that crewman is on duty, the first gets his rack time. Spacecraft compartments can be isolated by airtight doors in case of decompression. The cinematic vision of explosive decompression is fiction. Hold compartments either take enough damage that occupants are killed instantly or leak slowly enough that they are able to reach protective gear. Compartments are equipped with emergency life support apparatus, fireproof plastic bubbles with air bottles, small when stowed. ELSA comfortably accommodate one individual inflated. Damage control procedure cuts off ventilation to burning compartments without oxygen to consume fire dies in seconds. Or fires die in seconds. The compartment is repressurized afterwards for crew recovery. Mass Effect fields create an artificial gravity, or AGRAV, plane below the decks, preventing muscle atrophy and bone loss in 0G. Large vessels arrange their decks perpendicular to their thrust axis. The highest decks are at the bow and the lowest at the engines. This allows AGRAV to work with the inertial effects of thrust. Ships that can land arrange their decks laterally so that the crew can move about while the vessel is on the ground. Warships normally turn off their AGRAV systems during combat, reducing the heat generated by systems and increasing combat endurance. To provide a point of resistance for navigation in 0G, floors are painted a different color from the walls and ceiling. Okay, cool. That's some heavy-duty information right here, I'm telling you. Okay, cruisers. Cruiserweight starships are the standard combat unit encountered away from a large naval bases, the poor bloody infantry of most fleets. Nimble scouting frigates have neither the punch nor the stamina to stand up to serious combat, and the mighty dreadnoughts are a strategic resource carefully hoarded and committed to the most critical battles. Cruisers perform routine independent show-the-flag patrols in settled systems and lead flotillas of frigates in small engagements such as pirate suppression campaigns. In major fleet engagements, cruiser squadrons support the dreadnought battle line by screening their flanks against enemies attempting to maneuver for a main gun bowshot from their vulnerable broadsides. Alliance cruisers are named after cities of Earth. Okay, good to know. Dreadnought. The dreadnought is the ultimate arbiter of space warfare. Millions of tons of metal, ceramic, and polymer dedicated to the projection of firepower against an enemy vessel of like ability. No sane commander would face a dreadnought with anything less than another dreadnought. Okay, so that's be careful. If you encounter a dreadnought, do not engage, unless you're on a dreadnought. A dreadnought's power lies in the length of its main gun. Okay. Dreadnoughts range from 800 meters to 1 kilometer long, with a main gun of commensurate length. An 800-meter mass accelerator is capable of accelerating one 2-kilo slug to a velocity of 283 kilometers per second every 2 seconds. Each slug has a kinetic energy of 38 kilotons of TNT, 3 times the energy released by the fission weapon that destroyed Hiroshima. Okay. When used to bombard planets, some of this kinetic energy is lost due to atmospheric re-entry friction. As a rule of thumb, each Earth atmosphere of air pressure saps approximately 20% of a projectile's impact energy. The Turian fleet presently has 37 dreadnoughts, the Asari has 21, and the Solarians have 16. Humanity has 6, with an additional hull under construction at Arcturus Station. Alliance battleships are named for mountains of Earth. Everest class, Everest Fuji, Elbrus, Kilimanjaro class, Kilimanjaro, Taishan, Shasta, Aconcagua under construction. Okay, so these are our dreadnoughts. Okay, moving on to fighters. Fighters are single-pilot combat small craft. They are lightweight enough that they can be economically fitted with a powerful element 0 cores, making them capable of greater acceleration and sharper maneuvers than starships. Kinetic barrier shields changed starships' battles from short, vicious bloodbaths to extended, indecisive slugging matches. Only the main gun of a dreadnought could punch a mass accelerator slug through the barriers of an opposing dreadnought. This changed with the development of the fighter-launched mass disruptor torpedo, a short-range weapon that can penetrate kinetic barriers to destroy their projector assemblies. Starship Guardian defenses must be overwhelmed through swarm tactics. Fighter groups can take heavy casualties pressing their torpedo attacks home. Once fighter-launched torpedoes have crippled the enemy's barriers, the mass accelerators on frigates and cruisers can make short work of them. Interceptors are a type of fighter optimized to attack other fighters with no ability to damage starships. Interceptors are used to screen friendly units from incoming fighter attack. Okay, and then the frigates. These are the light escort and the scouting vessels. They often have extensive Guardian systems to provide anti-fighter screening for capital ships and carry a squad of Marines for security and groundside duty. Unlike larger vessels, frigates are able to land on planets. Frigates' drive systems allow them to achieve high FTL cruise speeds. They also have proportionally larger thrusters and lighter design mass, allowing them to maneuver more handily. In combat, speed and maneuverability make a frigate immune to the long-range fire of large vessels. In the time it takes projectiles to reach them, frigates are no longer where they were predicted to be. Okay. In fleet combat, frigates are organized into wolfpack flotillas of 4 to 6. Wolfpacks speed through enemy formations, hunting enemy vessels whose kinetic barriers have been taken down by fighter-launched disruptor torpedoes. The Wolfpack circle strafes vulnerable targets, using their superior speed and maneuverability to evade return fire. Alliance frigates are named for great battles in human history. Okay, that's very interesting. Cool, so we know some more about ships and vehicles, and now, last but not least, technology. Okay, we know about the biotic amps, but let's move on to communications. Real-time communication is possible thanks to networks of extensive mass relay comm buoys that can daisy chain a transmission via lasers. Okay, comm buoys are maintained in patterns built outward from each mass relay. The buoys are little more than a cluster of primitive miniature mass relays. Each individual buoy is connected to a partner or on another buoy in the network, forming a corridor of low mass space. Tight beam communications lasers are piped through those tubes of FTL space, allowing virtually instantaneous communication to anywhere on the network. The network's connected across regions by communications lasers through the mass relays. With this system, the only communications delay is the light lag between the source or destination and the closest buoy. So long as all parties remain within half a light second, or 150,000 kilometers of buoys, seamless real-time communications are possible. Since buoys are maintained in all traveled areas, most enjoy unlimited instant communication. Ships only suffer communications lag when operating off established deep space routes around uninhabited outer system gas giants and other unsettled areas. During wartime, communications buoys networks are the first target to attack, of course. Once the network is severed, it can take anywhere from weeks to years to get a message out of a contested system. In systems where a buoy network has not yet been built or has been destroyed, rapid communication means ferrying information through high-speed courier ships and unmanned data drones. Okay, so yeah, once you destroy a network, it's pretty hard to put back because, yeah, you need to know first that that network is gone. Interesting. Communications administration. While comm buoys allow rapid transmission, there is a finite amount of bandwidth available. Given that trillions of people may be trying to pass a message through a given buoy at any time, access to the network is parceled out on priority tiers. The Citadel Council and the Spectres have absolute priority, of course. If they are using all the bandwidth, everyone else must wait. Individual governments and their military enjoy the next highest tier. During wartime, civilian communication can suffer hours or even days of lag. Intelligence agencies study ping time through various systems to predict military buildups. Below the governments and militaries, bandwidth priority is sold to the highest bidder. Media conglomerates, particularly headline news networks, purchase higher priority to provide their viewers with timely information. Corporations that require timely information and response capability, for example financial institutions and investment firms, also invest heavily in priority access. The funds acquired through sales of bandwidth are used to maintain and expand the communications infrastructure. While everyone with a computer has guaranteed free and unlimited access to the Galactic Extranet, they are last in line for bandwidth and may have to wait for their requests to be processed. Bandwidth resale corporations use investment capital to purchase blocks of high-priority access made available by paid subscription. Wow. To me, it's incredible that they even thought about this. And when I say they, I mean the creators of the game, the designers of the game. This is very detailed information. I love it. Okay, credits or creds. The standard credit was established by the Citadel's Unified Banking Act as the currency of interstellar trade. The credit has a managed floating exchange rate calculated in real time by the central bank to maintain the average value of all participating currencies. Some regional currencies are worth more than a credit, and some less. Hard currency can be stolen or counterfeited, so electronic fund transfers are the norm. More importantly, physical transactions cannot be easily tracked, making them ideal for tax evasion or the purchase of illegal goods. When the Alliance joined the Citadel, its various national treasuries were linked into a credit network. A human with a bank account of Mexican pesos, Japanese yen, or Indian rupees can purchase any item priced in credits at fair market value. All economies that participate in the credit network are required to price items in both local currency and credits. Okay. Well, guys, what can I say? It's a lot of information, and I think I should do these videos a little bit more often, because that was a lot of information, and it took a while to get through. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm sorry for stumbling in some parts while reading through this. It's very interesting to me, and for me, and like I said, the level of detail that they went into to develop this world is just amazing so far. And I think I'm only at the beginning. Let's face it, we only did the quests in the Citadel, and we will get back to the Citadel, right? And yeah, it's great. I love it, and my expectations have not only been met so far, but have been exceeded, and I'm really happy about this, and I'm looking forward to see how things go. Thanks again for listening to me, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.